Hello and welcome to another episode of Between the Studs. I am your host, Daniel.
I'm Randy.
Hey, I'm Corey.
And today we are talking about the wickedly talented Adele Dazeem. No, we're talking about the wicked episode of Lego Masters Season 5. We are on, episode 4? I keep forgetting.
Four now? Four, yeah.
Yeah, 4. We're up to episode 4. Doing another licensed collaboration. We had the one earlier this season where they did the Star Wars Challenge. So the licensed ones, I think, are to try and get more new fans into it and stuff. But so first impressions, 7 hours. Had to incorporate power functions and a storytelling aspect and a good or bad spell. What did you all think, first impressions of this challenge?
7.5 hours.
That's true. That's true. We'll get there. That was the twist this week.
Well,
what did you think about the challenge?
It was okay. I liked that they all had a different spell to pick from. I think some of them had clearly been Wicked fans, had seen the plays of the movie.
Yeah.
Some of them maybe just kind of had an idea of what it was, so they struggled a little bit. But I think they did well overall.
And then some of them didn't know at all and asked the team next to them. And they were very kind and provided a pretty good explanation that they clearly integrated into their thing. How about you, Randy? What did you think about this one overall?
I like the challenge of it. I like the power functions that there seems to be doing more of that this season. So I think that's a fun thing to get to see. I like the spell books. I thought those were pretty cool.
Yeah,
don't know if I understood all the spells in them.
Yeah, some of them were a little more...
The butterfly got me a little bit amulet. But
some were a little too abstract and some were a little too tangible.
Yeah,
they weren't really spells.
But I mean, it was. I think it's a fun challenge.
Yeah, for sure. Are you a big Wicked fan also?
I have seen the musical, the Broadway musical, 3 times.
So she knows the second.
Yeah. You said you had seen the movie, just the part 1 movie. I gotcha.
Just the movie.
It was kind of good timing, I guess. I think this season had originally been filmed to coincide more with the release of the movie, but given that it is split between 2 parts, I think it works fine either way. But yes, bringing back the importance of power functions and storytelling aspects, I think, is great. Yeah, the spell books were cool. They were actual physical props. I think were all brick built. I think even the what was the main book that Will had? It was kind of that trapezoid shape.
I really liked the shape of that. It was pretty cool. Yeah,
I think that was also brick built. I was looking at it closely.
I think it was.
At first, I thought it was just a regular prop, but I think it was also built out of Lego.
That was pretty cool.
But all right, let's dive right into our teams here. First up, we had Anthony and Joe, the teachers, the gym teacher and the band director, who had won last week and possessed the golden brick this week. Their spell that they received was the banishment spell. That was one of the evil or wicked spells. There were evil ones and good ones. And they chose to build the witch's hat that had the sort of trap door and the fire elements rotating around it. So what did y'all think about this one?
I was really surprised they used the golden brick.
Yeah.
I know the show will normally play stuff up like that to add drama, but it was pretty dramatic. I was like, why are you using the golden brick? It looks fine.
Well, and they want them to cash it in, right? They don't want the teams to sit on it. So there may have been other stuff off camera or something where they were maybe making them think that their build is, I don't know. There could be any number of conspiracy theories that you could form about it without knowing what actually happened. But it seems like they do tend to encourage them to use it. But
it was one of the better power functions, the spinning fire. Right?
Yeah, that worked great. That worked great for sure. How about you, Randy? What did you think?
I really liked it. I think the shape of the hat was actually really cool and interesting. I do agree with Jamie brought up that there was a weird gap. Where I don't understand the color choice necessarily of how they did it, but it was still a really fun shape. I thought they did really well. I was shocked they used the brick. I don't think they needed it at all.
Yeah. I was surprised that Jamie openly admitted, hey, I don't think you needed to use that. Ooh, that's bad.
They were just sitting there going...
I was thinking that before he said it.
Yeah.
Well, so a refresher on the rules of the golden brick, and I don't think they really explain this as explicitly in this episode, but they have explained it before. If you end up in the bottom 2 without using it, you lose it regardless. Right. So even if they were sure that they were not the worst team and wouldn't be going home, if you don't use it and you end up in the bottom 2, you're going to lose it regardless.
And they wouldn't have known that other build was going to collapse and fail. So.
Right. So the pack, besides maybe the team that ended up going home, was relatively even. So it could have still been the right move. I mean, you can gamify it as much as you want and be like, but it's still worth more the odds of that gamble than to use it and for sure lose it. But I don't know. So yeah, I don't think they necessarily needed to use it either, but clearly it worked out for them.
What did you think of the build?
I thought it was good. Yeah, I don't really know why they needed to do the color difference, but they had like the purple on the top, and then I think it was because they like took a couple layers back off to try and expose that power function more. That was what resulted in that weird kind of gap in the extra band. But overall, I think this was great. I think doing a large sculptural piece is going to get them pretty far in this competition.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be good.
I was impressed with that. I really was. I thought it was good shape.
And a good concept too.
Yeah.
Just like they had a very clear idea of what they wanted to build. It was a shape that would read well. They had like a nice little accessory. There was like a ribbon or something on the side of the hat. It was just really good composition, I would say.
Yeah.
All right, next up was Ben and Michael, the infamous brothers, who are doing very, very well so far. Their spell was Power, which was another one of the evil spells there, and their concept was the sort of opening chest build with the chains wrapped all around it, and the Wicked Witch inside. That actually reminded me a lot of the farmer from the previous week with like the waving arms. I think it was a pretty similar kind of construction method. But what did y'all think about this one?
Oh my gosh, it was absolutely as soon as that box like opened, it was so good, and you saw everybody was just like all the teammates, everything. I mean, I know it's edited, but I just feel like that was probably a pretty natural reaction because it was very powerful in it, and that chain looks so cool around the outside of it.
Large scale stuff like that always reads really, really well from across the room. Good contrast. It was like a yellow chain on like a a gray and black box with some like green wispy details on it.
It was colored very well. It
nice
really
contrast.
caught your eye.
I was about to say, it looked like a piece of furniture almost, like large scale, and then it opened and it was mini scale. I think they did a great job of contrasting that.
Yeah. I don't know that they were as explicit with this. I think this was another case of there were rules that we didn't really receive as the viewers because everybody had some sort of containment or reveal aspect. I don't know. Did they explicitly say that in the challenge rules?
I don't remember hearing that.
They talked about the power functions and the storytelling and the spell, but everyone seemed to have a sort of enclosure or panels that slid away. There was a manual sort of revealing moment.
And they might have copied off each other too. You know?
Could be. It just seemed like a little much of a coincidence maybe. But yeah, for sure. Very awesome the way that chest opened up. Going above and beyond, of course. They did actually end up sacrificing. They were trying to do all, I guess, 5 sides, but they sacrificed the lid because they were having some issues, I think, with the weight of it pulling away. But I think it worked just as fine.
I don't think it took away from it at all.
Yeah.
And I love the building shaking. And let me tell you, the whole time they were being critiqued, all I was doing was watching it to see if any of it was going to fall because it was pretty. It had some good jiggle to it.
It was going the whole time.
And I was like, oh, is it even going to fall? I was kind of waiting for it, and it didn't. So it was fun.
I think basically what they did, it looked like they built like a few floors of each building that was like tiled off on the top and had some Technic things in it. So I think they had like some Technic lift arms or something pinning them together so that there was a little bit of that jostle between like the separate floors of the building, so you would get that kind of thing without.
To knock it over.
I don't think there was a way for it to be knocked over because I think it was all still connected to itself with some Technic elements. So really, really clever engineering for sure going on there. And great effect. The character build in the background as well was awesome. Really, really read well from across the room. All right, next up was John and Justin, the pair of friends. Their spell was Defiance, another negative spell here. They built a large emerald city with the sort of floating hat inside as the doors opened up. So what did y'all think about this one? I really liked this one a lot.
Loved it. That city was so good.
The Emerald City looked great. I think the scale and the coloration of the hat and the size of it inside and the way they got their mechanism to move at just the right speed, it all meshed really well together. But how about you, Corey?
No, I mean, the color choice was good too. They used a lot of green, but it wasn't like camouflaged and like some of the other builds that chose all green.
For sure.
Yeah.
For the Emerald City, they naturally used a lot of transparent greens and brighter greens, and then the hat was like a mix of black and dark green.
Switched it up,
yeah, it was still very intentional in its color schemes, even though they were somewhat similar palette-wise. But yes, overall very good. They had a little bit of issue with the weight of the hat and kind of getting that mechanism to work, but it looked perfect in the end. I think the speed it was moving was just right. You see a lot of teams with power functions that end up with something that's just moving way too fast or way too slow, so they really dialed that in just right. So worked out great for them. Next up was Sage and Ian, the pair of siblings. Their spell was Butterfly, which is Not any spell I've ever heard of before.
No.
So those first 3, we had banishment. Yeah, that totally sounds like a spell. Power is kind of abstract. Defiance, also pretty abstract, but fits with the Wicked theme. Butterfly.
They took it literally.
I rewound it because I'm like, I did not hear this, and I really thought I missed something. I was like, wait, it's got to be something more than just, because I was like, what is it? What? And I was so confused. I just don't.
Yeah. The field was not very even for these. Usually with the kind of randomly assigned topics, sometimes it's like a minifigure they have to base a build off of, or sometimes it's a prompt like this. Yeah. Usually they're pretty evenly spread, but some of these were clearly weaker than others.
Yeah.
But I think it worked out fine for Sage and Ian. So they did take it very literally. They had the the Wicked Witch was shooting the butter so that flies were attracted to it. But then the Good Witch was turning that into literal butterflies.
Yeah.
In a cake with a lot of stuff all around it. It was a lot.
It was crowded.
It was crowded, yeah.
I think...
I agree with Amy.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, nothing was bad. It's just very busy, very crowded.
Yeah.
The theme is hard to follow, too. Like Butterfly. How do you... I don't know what I would have done, so...
Yeah, exactly. I don't either, but I think as a result, their story also got a little muddled. I think since they had maybe not a great prompt, they should have tried to keep it a little simpler to compensate for that. But it worked out fine for them. They were middle of the pack. Mm-hmm. All right, next up we had Nikki and Britain, the pair of sisters. Their spell was Love, which of course was one of the good ones, and they built the large love potion bottle with the big heart on the front that opened up, that had the 2 scenes of, it was like the Emerald City and then like a tree on the other side. They also worked in 2 power functions. But what did y'all think about this build overall?
Well, I've said color palette before, but they did a good job with the pinks on this one too.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to just... everything looked thrown in there, but it had a lot of contrast. So
yeah. How about you, Randy?
I just felt like it looked like a big box.
Yeah.
I didn't get a potion. Like, there was no shape to it. It was just so rectangular. I thought it was really pretty when it opened. I think they did the insides really well, but the outside, it just looked like a square. I didn't necessarily get a potion bottle from it.
Yeah. I actually wasn't too fussed with the box itself, because I think that was fine. I think it was part of this like reveal aspect that we maybe didn't hear all the rules about. But as a result, the insides kind of ended up being kind of trapped in this sort of shadow box that resulted in them being somewhat flat and covered and maybe a little claustrophobic even. Whereas, one side was the Emerald City and the other side was a forest. They're natural. They should have some room to breathe. Yeah. They felt a little tightly enclosed. But they did have the 2 power functions. So on the Emerald City side, there was a pair of doors opening and closing, and on the right side in the forest, the inside of the tree was supposed to spin around to sort of swap the minifigure there. This did, in the judging, end up not functioning properly. The rotating one must have gotten caught on something, and it just kind of snapped off and fell over.
Yeah, you just heard the loud clunk. Oh,
yeah, it was a little heartbreaking.
The first one worked. Would have been bad if both hadn't worked.
Yeah. It seems to me like they maybe should have just focused their time maybe on one power function and making it work really well. I think even it was probably their saving grace that they had 2 separate ones, because when one didn't work, the other one did, which maybe in the technical aspects of the judging was really critical. But I think had they focused all of their energy on one, making it work really well or being more impressive, I think it could have been to greater success. It did work well enough for them. They did not get eliminated. They were in the bottom 2, however, but we'll talk more about that later. Yep. Next up was Alex and Tone, the pair of brothers. The spell they received was the spell of Deception, which was another evil spell. They built the build that had sort of 2 different faces on each side, and there was a conveyor belt with like gems going through it. So it was about a deception where I guess people were bringing these gems to the conveyor under the guise that they were presenting them to this altar or shrine or something, but there was really something else going on behind the scenes. But what did y'all think about this one?
I think opposite of what I've been saying, contrast. This one didn't have much contrast, and like Amy was saying, I didn't even know there was a face on the backside. So, yeah. How
about you, Randy?
I agree. The previous week's challenge, they very much struggled with the face and the head of the dragon, and I don't know why they decided to now do 2 faces, because neither one of them worked at all. They were the green did. I was like, a what? And then it turned around, and I'm like, you could kind of see what they were going for, but it was just it was pretty rough. And their power function worked, and that was cute. But I go, they had to like they're like, oh, here's this side, then they had to pick it up and turn it the other way, and I was like, that was a little disappointing.
Yeah, I agree. I think their concept on paper was really strong. It was a little abstract, but I think as such it needed to really be sculpted well in order to pull off such an abstract concept. But I like the way that it looked on paper. But yeah, coming off the heels of a challenge where they almost got eliminated for some issues with their sculpting ability, I think had it been me in the same shoes, I would have tried to steer clear. Personally, I'm not great at sculpting things either, so I would do everything in my power to avoid doing really sculpture-heavy things and lean into my other strong suits. So it seemed like an unfortunate circumstance there for Alex and Tone with some of those sculpting issues. That and their judges' feedback in the midway check-in was about the color contrast, and so I think they pivoted on one side and made the face purple to stand out from the green, but the one on the other side was green on green, and it didn't read again. Same
lost
problem
in translation a lot.
Same problem they had the previous week. All right, our next team was Corey and Rebecca, the wedding DJs, and their prompt was bubble. Again, a little abstract, but if you know things about the Wizard of Oz and Wicked,
you can kind of get that one. I still don't understand butterfly.
Bubbles are a big deal for the witches. So they did the witch's birthday party, the Good Witch's birthday party, and she had put everyone in bubbles. We only really got to see their build at the end here. These last two teams
we
checked in right at the finale.
They didn't show much of this build.
No.
So.
Yeah, they didn't. They tend to throw some of the middle of the pack people in at the end just to cut down on editing time, which is unfortunate. You get a lot more of that in like Lego Masters Australia and stuff. That's one of my gripes with the North American version. It's just not enough time to even talk to or see all of the builders in any given episode. But I think their build was great. I love that they used the like bubble canopy windscreens. They put like two of them back to back and put minifigs inside them, so they're just kind of like floating around in there as the arms are tipping back and forth. But what else did y'all think about this one overall? Any other thoughts?
I really liked it. I thought it was really cute. Yeah. Especially for the prompt they had. I was like, doing the birthday party, I think, was a good one. And the little figures inside moving back and forth were hilarious.
Yeah, I think they made good use of their function. And let's see, our next team here was Anne and Luke, the mom and son combo. Their spell was friendship. Again, a little abstract, but all right. So they built sort of a large picnic basket.
Was this an evil spell or a good spell?
This was a good spell. All right. But they built a large picnic basket with a number of little brick-built fruits. There were like bananas and apples and maybe a pumpkin or a squash or something in there with some nice little faces on them. I think the judge's only criticism was they had like a potion bottle or something that was in the middle that was kind of concealed by the...
I think they had to reach to find something wrong with it, which is fair. You got to find something so that you don't look like you're playing favorites. But honestly, it was a pretty good build overall.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Randy?
I really liked it. I do agree. I don't know why that potion bottle looked really cool, and you couldn't see it at all. Like they really had to go in at an angle with the camera to even be able to see it. So yeah, that's unfortunate. But it was great. The faces on the fruit were hilarious. The banana going back and forth.
This is maybe one of the first challenges I would say that we've seen some really strong character building in that style. Like obviously not a large central character. We have seen that already this season, but in terms of the like lots of little small characters, that's kind of a simple but repeatable design. In previous seasons we've gotten lots of things like little monkeys or fish people or something that are just really simple characters, but you build a lot of them and it makes the scene feel much more lived in than just filling it with minifigures that they plucked off a wall. So I'm glad to see Anne and Luke kind of going in this direction. Hopefully more teams will follow suit because that's going to become increasingly important the later in the season we get. Our final team here for this week was Maya and Jamie, the dad and daughter combo. This was the team that had not seen Wicked or knew anything about it. Fortunately, Corey and Rebecca were the ones who were kind enough to take their time to explain it to them.
They did a great synopsis for them. So
I like to see that kind of that teamwork as opposed to being like, oh, you don't know? Buzz off. We're not going to help you. But yes, the dad and daughter combo, their spell was bravery, another good spell. And they had sort of a large reveal that was as if the witch was looking into a mirror, and then it opened up to reveal, I guess, the land of Oz, I would assume.
It's welcoming. Remember the hand?
There was like a tree hand or something kind of welcoming in. So
I thought she was looking through a window. She was looking through a mirror.
That was what the judge said. Exactly. Exactly. But I think this one was pretty fine. Again, kind of middle of the pack, but I think it worked well enough. Their reveal was pretty good. Their character build was pretty good. But what else did y'all think about this one?
I don't understand why they said they needed a mirror, because that's something very difficult to do. You would have had to build another phase, and then before you know it, it's taken up half the build.
Right.
So I think they did the right thing, just having a window for her to look through.
Yeah. I bet you win.
I like that it was different in that it had like the scenery. The other ones had all been confined in something, so it was good to see somebody thinking differently than everyone else, you know. And so I enjoyed that part of it. I thought it was really cute the way it came out, and their story was sweet and everything to go with their thing. So I thought it was fun. If it shouldn't have been a mirror, they just should have said she was looking through. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe some reflection instead of, or I don't know, in the glass. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
it seemed like they leaned a little more into maybe their existing knowledge of just the Wizard of Oz rather than Wicked specifically. And I think that's fine. I think in the rules of the competition, they probably can't be super strict unless they're going to show it to everyone. Otherwise, there's a bias of whether or not you know the source material. So I think they probably were not being too picky about how true it was to Wicked or not. So I think they did just fine. But that is the last of our teams. As far as what else was going on in the challenge, yes, we had the twist around the 3-hour mark where Will had to perform the spell to see if they would get an extra 30 minutes or lose 30 minutes. Fortunately, they did end up getting an extra 30 minutes. I think if they had lost 30 minutes,
that would have been bad.
That would have been bad. Even with 3 hours remaining, or it might have been like 3.5 hours or so. Losing half hour is tough.
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
That's tough. So yes, fortunately they did get the extra 30 minutes, thanks to Jeff Goldblum, who showed up with his few voiceovers.
Ariana Grande did not show up though.
Ariana Grande did not.
They had me on that one. I was like,
sorry, Corey.
They love to do those kind of teasers and stuff. It's like one of Will Arnett's just innocuous jokes, but they turn it into this whole thing where I think like last week's episode they teased it, and then in the episode they teased it and did like a commercial break right beforehand, and it's like, okay, we all I think knew where this was going based on his tone of voice. We all know Will Arnett well enough now at this point to know where that was going. But yeah, Jeff Goldblum was cool. It seemed like he actually did some special voiceovers for the episode. At first I had thought maybe they had just taken some audio clips of him from the movie or something, but there were ones where he was actually addressing Will and talking about stuff in the challenge, so that was cool to see. Costume wise, we like to talk about this every week. Jamie and Amy.
Costume people should get an award this season.
What do you think about Jamie and Amy's costumes?
Okay,
Randy?
Amy's wand was the highlight of that whole episode. It was so cool.
At first I thought it was like Lego belt or something, but then I don't know,
no way. Still, I don't know where it came from, but it was really cool.
Looked awesome.
And she looked fabulous holding it in her pink suit.
And then Jamie also had sort of like this wooden staff thing, and he had like a nice black and kind of dark green outfit on. Costumes outside of the hosts of the show, what were Anthony and Joe wearing?
They're cheaterific, okay?
Did they have to hold a gun to their head to get them to wear that?
They were channeling their inner cheetah girl. I don't know.
I think they have two costume departments. They have the judges' outfit people, and then they have the contestants' outfit people.
I don't know, man.
There's no way it's the same people doing both of them.
This was so bad.
Will Arnett wasn't wearing anything cool. That was a little wah-wah. He was just like normal.
Yeah,
kind of normal.
It was interesting. I could have totally seen him in like the whole green
like
wizard,
wizard outfit.
The wizard, I don't know. Anthony was in again. They did like the tracksuit for the gym coach and the regular suit for the band director. But why cheetah print? Oh, so
and
bad.
It was on screen a lot. It was on screen a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot of
Oof, felt bad for them.
Yeah.
All right, and so let's talk about the judging here. So first we were introduced to the top two, which were Ben and Michael, again with their sort of exploding open chest build, and then John and Justin with the large Emerald City with the floating hat inside. So the winners of this challenge were Ben and Michael. So do you agree who won that one out of the top two?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
For sure.
Yeah. Nice. How about you, Randy? What do you think about the top two and the winners of that one?
I think they got the top two right. I think they were both really strong, and with that witch's hat floating around was very cool. I think they did a good job, but I do think that the explode. I just everything about that was just really attention grabbing, and their story was great. So
for sure,
I think they got it right.
Top 2, I also agree were correct. I think it was more even. I think John and Justin's composition was really nice. I just really liked the scale of the large city and the simplicity of the floating hat. However, I think per the rules of the challenge, given that the emphasis was on power functions, I think Ben and Michaels was obviously way more successful there. So
a lot more movement.
Technically, based on the rules of the challenge, I do agree that they should have won. I just really liked the composition of John and Justin's. Yeah. But beyond that, the bottom 2 came after that. The first one was Nikki and Britain, I think mainly because one of their power functions broke.
They took a gamble and lost doing that.
They did. And our other team was Alex and Tone, again with the criticism just for readability and the sculpting ability there. Alex and Tone were the team that was unfortunately sent home. But I think it was the right call. After I think 2 weeks in a row with the same issue, I think it was just the right call for this week. But what did y'all think about the bottom 2 and the team that was sent home?
Oh, I agree. I think the bottom 2 were the ones that could be there. I think the girls really thought they were going home. So
Really?
I think they did.
Yeah.
They looked really shocked, I think, when their names weren't called because that power function not working. But I agree that the right team went home. I just think they really struggled with their sculpting and concepts getting them out there.
Yeah. How about you, Cor?
I think if it wasn't this week, it might have been next week. So, I mean, unfortunately, people do have to go home. So.
Yeah, that's the nature of it.
Yep.
But it's Lego Masters, folks. It's brutal out there.
Yeah.
So we say goodbye to another fantastic team of Alex and Tone. But we are looking forward to next week when we will get to see even more power functions.
Yes.
The theme appears to be maybe like a steampunk kind of
It kind of looked
thing.
like it.
There were lots of gears. I think Will Arnett was even wearing a trench coat.
Yeah.
So
we'll see.
Lots of power functions coming into play. Lots of gears and things. It seems like they're each going to be assigned sort of a not a simple machine, but what do you call it? Simple machines are like screws and ramps, but it was like spinning versus like linear motion and like other things.
Yeah, they each got a motion and then they had to work it into their build. But it's going to be a head-to-head challenge, right?
Yes, head-to-head challenge. That's right.
I like that,
yes.
so I'm excited for that.
Hopefully this is not something else that results in them being like, oh, well, I guess we can't send anyone home.
Yeah.
Hopefully they will still send somebody home, I think, based on it. So it's the whole episode
need to narrow it down so we can actually see every team.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a real criticism, too. You got to send people home early on so we can enjoy the last few episodes.
Yeah. I don't know what the head-to-head aspect will actually result in for the judging. I don't know how that would be any different from a standard week other than adding a lot more drama to it, pitting them against each other. But who knows? I don't know how it'll come into play with the judging.
I thought they each were going to get the same power function. They had to build something and who used it.
That could be. Maybe.
That's what I don't know.
It seemed like there were a lot of different
I don't know why. Maybe I just assumed
maybe there were pairs, because we'll be down to 8 teams now, so it'll be 4 pairs of 2. So I don't know. We'll have to wait till next week to see, but we will be right back here on Atlanta Brick Co. TV, bringing you all another episode review next week. But thank you all for joining us for this week for this wickedly talented. Oh bless! Was it John Travolta?
I think it was John Travolta. Yeah.
Oh bless his heart. She got him back. What was it? The next year?
I think she did.
Idina Menzel. She came back and she said his name was something else. Goofy. She said the wrong name for him. But thank you all for joining us for this episode of Between the Studs. Please hit that like button on the way out. Consider subscribing if you have not done so already. Thank you to Corey and Randy for joining me for this week, and we will see you all next week. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
See ya.